So in that state, I didn't have a place to sleep. So the only thing I could do was maybe if I get a man, go sleep with him, then I would get a place to sleep next to him until morning. I started hustling as a young child, but there's nothing I could do. Being that my dad and mom had separated and they had issues that involved me too, I was left now to tend for myself. And I remember at one point I even went and slept with a guy that I think I don't even know his name until this day, because I just wanted a place to sleep. And I was very young, I was 15 years.
You were 15 years?
I was 15. So at a young age, at 15, I was already in the streets. I didn't have anything to eat, nowhere to sleep. So whatever I got at that particular time was enough. So that's how I got into the street. My first, I even had this bwenyenye, as in Mubaba.
Mubaba, yeah.
Who used to take me around in his Mercedes. I know him, but I won't say his name. And still, he could only offer me a bed, sleep with me, but after he goes back to his wife, I would remain. The guy who came in and said he would marry me with the baby. I was still very young. And being that I had gone through a little bit of rejection from my past, all I needed was just that empathy, love.
Yeah, love. So you thought, so
every time...
Ni wa Nairobi.
Yeah, every time someone came to me and told me I love you, me, I believed. I never used to have this, I thought it was mtu anadanganya. Little did I know he was married. And then when I got pregnant, I didn't know what to do. When I told him, he rejected me. So even in public, he could disown me and tell me, no, you are bad influence. Don't sit with my other children. So I think these are the things that escalated to the fact that I started feeling alone and rejected.
Oh.
Yes. So that's how I got out of the streets. But later, Mom came in and took me to Nairobi.
Oh. Yes. Nairobi ukajipata kwenye slum, Korogosho.
Ukajipata kwenye ghetto.
Ghetto yenyewe. Sasa ghetto ndio sasa ina wenyewe sasa ili inakufunza.
When I got into Nairobi, Nairobi welcomed me with a pregnancy. Oh. Because I was just sitting by the door and then there are these guys who just passed and akufinya macho. My dad, my cousins, people talked bad about me. And when I tried to abort Nick, I'm going to tell you the truth. The first week, I took 10 Panadols. I worked with Christine Shusho.
Oh, you worked with Christine Shusho?
Is this video, we never did in the studio as in the audio part, but the video part, she called me and I went with some of my two friends. And I was humbled to be in her video, or even just work with her one-on-one through Geraldine Oduor.
Yeah.
And that is when I met Janet Otieno. And I worked with Carol Nyakwaka and so many other artists that we were with at that particular point.
Yeah.
And yes, we are going to be talking about my transition from the gospel music to the secular industry.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be afraid of saying anything because I need the world to really listen to this.
Yeah.
You guys coming in as Kegma TV, you guys are doing a great thing in the ministry.
Thank you so much. Hello watu wangu, ni Maureen Caleb hapa hivi ndani ya Kegma TV and it's a wonderful day and we thank God and we give him all the glory. I hope mko poa na leo nawaletea a beautiful lady, nakwambia vocalist. Na I hope most of you kwa mkimona kwa maybe videos za gospel, amefanya gospel music and also amework with the late Angela Chibalonza and also a lady called Loti Sikamba. Amefanya na different ministers. So today watu wamekuwa kijiuliza mbona aonekani tena kwa gospel industry? Mbona anaonekana tena kwa maybe clubs, kwa restaurants na also akona nyatiti yake anapiga. Na watu wanajiuliza alitoka kwa gospel ama ni nini, what is wrong? But leo tunataka tusikie kutoka kwake so that tusisikie tu maneno kutoka kwa watu, but let us hear from her na tusikie her story. Hello Christine.
Hey,
uko poa?
Niko poa.
Uko poa sana?
Niko poa, nashukuru Mungu sana.
Nimekutafuta, uko busy sana.
Ndio mimi.
So karibu kwenye Kegma TV.
Asante.
I hope today watu utajibu zile maswali watu wanauliza sana huko nje. Wanashangaa huyu dada alikuwa na praise, worship, hata sauti yako nasikia hata ukiongea ni kama una vibrate. Inamaanisha you are a worshipper and you are a minister. Umekuwa ukifanya kwa nyumba ya Mungu and watu wanajiuliza ya kwamba umepotea, mbona umepotea uonekani tena? And also maybe waambie jina yako, unaweza tuambie jina yako, your full names and maybe where you come from. Yeah. Karibu.
Okay. Thank you so much, Maureen.
Yeah.
And thank you, Kegma TV, for allowing me to come here. I think this is an honor.
Yeah.
Yes. Despite the fact that I've been traveling, going left, right, and center, I never forgot that I had friends or people that we were with in the ministry.
Yeah.
And you guys coming in as Kegma TV, you guys are doing a great thing in the ministry.
Thank you so much.
So for you to bring this story, my story, it is really a good thing for me, because for real people have been talking and I've heard, but I couldn't listen to them because I knew what I was looking for.
Yeah.
My names are Christine Demba. My mom named me Christine Demba, but I baptized myself Mary, so I'm Christine Mary Demba.
Yeah.
And I'm a single mother of 3. I come from Siaya County, Game Malanga.
Wow.
Yeah, so that is where I was born actually, and I started ministry at a very young age.
Yeah.
In Siaya, at Siaya St. Peter's Cathedral, ACK Church. That is where Mama took me for the first time to church.
Yeah.
And since then I had been in the church for a very long time until I left.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hiyo ni poa sana, tumesikia ya kwamba umeokoka, and also bado unasema ya kwamba umekuwa church all from that time. Your mama amekupeleka church, umejua mambo na Mungu from yani utotoni mpaka saizi you have 3 kids.
Yes.
Wow. We give glory to God.
Yes, so I thank God that He brought me to this understanding and with this experience that I have. And yes, we are going to be talking about my transition from the gospel music to the secular industry.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be afraid of saying anything because I need the world to really listen to this.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yes.
So, Christine, tuambie in the beginning ya ministry yako ulianza huduma gospel industry, uliingiaje kwa gospel industry, ama aliseme niite gospel ministry?
Yes.
Yeah. Na maybe unaweza tuambie umefanya pia kazi na kina nani umefanya nao kwa gospel, so that watu wajue, wapate kujua na wapate kuelewa ya kwamba who is Christine, who is this lady, so that hata wakienda kusearch waone, oh, kumbe this is the lady that, yeah. So unaweza tuambia.
Okay, just as I've said, Mama took me to the church at a very young age, I think maybe 7 or 8. And when I started singing in the church, I didn't see it as ministry. To me, it was just something that Mama had brought in me. And I loved going to church.
Yeah.
And by then, I never used to sing. So I could just sit and listen. But one day, I think the singing was so bad in the Sunday school, and that is when I started singing.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to do it better. So I started singing in the Sunday school, and then later on I became older than Sunday school. And then I started helping them now with training and writing for them songs, folk songs that I could put together. And at one point there was a competition and it did good. I became the best soloist, Anglican Church of Kenya, Maseno West.
Wow.
And that was a long time ago. So when I outgrew the Sunday school, I went to the choir. And at St. Peter's Cathedral, I was the youngest by then. And I sang with the choir, and I'm really happy that the people who mentored me there, most of them are still there, and I see them.
Yeah, that's great.
So after going into the choir, that is where I think everything happened, because I left school. My dad and mom separated. So when they separated, we had to go with my mom, which I didn't even go with mom, so I was left in between, because as a child...
So you're with your mom in the village, or...?
We used to stay in Siaya.
In Siaya,
town.
Siaya.
That is why I used to go to Siaya St. Peter's Cathedral. So when Mama left, you know, mothers carry everything. So when she left, I kind of just forgot about church. And I was young, and being that my dad and Mama had separated and they had issues that involved me too, I was left now to tend for myself. So at a young age, at 16, 15, I was already in the streets. Without any place to go. My mom was there, my dad was there, but they didn't really care about us more. They cared about what they were going through.
They were going through, yeah.
Which I understood, because at that time, the separation wasn't easy for them too. So I left, and that is how I got into the secular.
So umesema umekuwa kwa street. So make people understand, maybe mtu aelewi street, ulikuwa yani as in kwa street as who?
Okay.
Yeah.
When my dad and mom separated, this is so sensitive, but I still have to talk about it, because I know it will heal so many people, not just me. When my dad and mom separated, I think I suffered the most, because my mom was on the side of my two sisters. And because dad loved me so much, he threw away some words that were not so good, like, go with the other children, Demba is my only child. So that stuck with my mom, and it's like she didn't like me for that. Yeah, so when I went with mom was so furious, like, your dad said you're the only child, so go back. And when I went back, dad was like, see, you've gone and you wanted to go with them. So I was left in between.
In between, yeah.
So when I was left, that is how I ended up in Kisumu. I started hustling as a young child, but there's nothing I could do. I was from a well-off family, not a bad one. My dad took good care of us while we were growing up. Yeah. And I never lacked anything.
So you were in Kisumu in the streets?
Yes. So when I got to Kisumu, the first place I went to was at Omega 1 Studios. Omega 1 Studios is still in Kisumu, I think. And many people know Omega 1.
Omega 1 is a?
The disco that
the disco. Yeah. The disco.
So I wanted to...
It is a sound. Is a sound.
Yes. So after getting from that, I wanted to be a DJ by that time. I just wanted to follow music. Because dad had raised me listening to music, and I thought music was a healer to me. So getting into the streets, I went in the streets first into Omega 1. So there was nowhere they could give me to sleep. I used to sleep in the studio once in a while. Yeah. And when they were going to play somewhere in the bar, I could go with them. But I was so young. And I was disturbed. So I could sit by myself and just see how people were acting. And I wanted to be a DJ, but I couldn't do anything. So in that state, I didn't have a place to sleep. So the only thing I could do was maybe if I get a man, go sleep with him, then I would get a place to sleep next to him until morning. And I remember at one point I even went and slept with a guy that I think I don't even know his name until this day, because I just wanted a place to sleep. And I was very young. I was 15 years.
You were 15 years?
I was 15.
And these men, they were even older than you?
Yes, and at one point I even had this bwenyenye, as in Mubaba.
Mubaba, yeah.
Who used to take me around in his Mercedes. I know him, but I won't to say his name. And still, he could only offer me a bed, sleep with me, but after he goes back to his wife, I would remain there and sleep.
So, walikuwa na kulipa ama?
No, there was no payment.
Alafu pia ulikuwa 15 years.
I was very young and naive.
Pia bado haujui, you have ukona nini za to take care of. You need clothes. Yes. You need somewhere to sleep. You need to eat.
I was just from my parents, and they were taking care of me. So right now I was just a child who wanted to be taken care of.
Sasa hata ukipewa hata 50 bobo unaona tu
uko sawa. Yeah. Even just chips and cook. Because I didn't have anything to eat, nowhere to sleep. So whatever I got at that particular time was enough. So that's how I got into the street. My first time now in the street. Yes, I slept outside at Kimwa Grand Hotel. And later on, now when I started rethinking, I said I wanted to go back home. So I went back to my dad in Siaya. I can't remember what really happened, but I went back to Siaya. When I went to Siaya, it was bad. Yeah. Because now my dad despised me. We had issues with him while they were still having issues with mom. And then now, when I came back and then he knew I had come from the streets now, it was like, the stamp was on me like, you're a bad guy.
You're a bad girl.
So he even discriminated me amongst my own sisters. That even in public, he could disown me and tell me, no, you are bad influence, don't sit with my other children. So I think these are the things that escalated to the fact that I started feeling alone and rejected. Oh. Yes. So that's how I got out of the streets. But later, mom came in and took me to Nairobi. Oh. Yes.
Hapo sasa ndio ulijipata kwa mji.
Hapo sasa ndio nilijipata Nai. My first time kuingia Nai. Wow. It was 2004.
So ulikuja na venye ulikam Nairobi, so ulikujaje? Ulikuja na mom kuishi na mom ama
alitumana
a relative?
I came to stay with, first we came into our auntie's house. But because mom was having a single room in Korogocho, we thought maybe we move and stay with her. So we started staying with mom in Korogocho. And then we went to Kariobangi North, Kanyama. And I stayed there. That is where I got my first pregnancy.
At Kariobangi?
Yes.
So your first, you are how old by that time?
By then I was just still 15, not 16 yet. Because the whole thing was happening inside a year.
Wow, guys, I didn't see this coming, but wow, this story is very inspiring. And I hope usibanduke. we have much to come. Our sister Christine, mahali ametoka na mahali amefika is God. So, usibanduke. Hello watu wangu, we are back again. Keep it Kegma TV na nimerudi na my sister Christine. So hapo ulikuwa unasema ya kwamba sasa umetoka ushago na with your mom. Amekuleta Nairobi. Nairobi ukajipata kwenye slum, Korogosho.
Ukajipata kwenye ghetto.
Ghetto yenyewe. Sasa ghetto ndio sasa ina wenyewe sasa ili inakufunza. And also then ukasema mkakuja mkaishi mkakuja mkaenda Kariobangi.
Kariobangi North.
Kariobangi
Kanyama,
North.
yeah.
Kanyama
stage. So my mom and me, we were friends. Although we were not so close, but we were friends.
Yeah.
So most of the jobs she could call me. And we used to go wash clothes, Buruburu, Isili. So we could just sit on those stones and wait, unaitwa. And when I got into Nairobi, Nairobi welcomed me with a pregnancy. Oh. Because I was just sitting by the door, and then there are these guys who just pass and akufinya macho, you know. So I was new in Nairobi, I'm beautiful, I'm young.
Yeah.
You know, mafisi were everywhere.
Mafisi wako wamesema sasa tuko na.
So they convinced me.
Yeah.
He convinced me. And then within a week, I had slept with him. And after that week, he got lost. I couldn't get him.
So
but me, I didn't know I was pregnant.
Oh.
It was just a feeling, and then I'm like, he's not there, but I'm okay, you know. But now when 2 months later, I realized I'm pregnant.
So alikuwa was he a married man?
No, he was just a young guy.
A young guy.
Yeah. And I don't know what really happened, because he used to go on and off. Like sometimes you'd see him, sometimes you won't see him. So when I saw him 2 months later, I told him I'm pregnant. He said, he's not responsible. I told him, I said he's not. So I didn't want to go through another pain of going to him every day, asking him to take responsibility. I just kept quiet. But it ate me because my family never welcomed it at
then your mom,
amekutoa
nyumbani, mkuje Nairobi mahasol.
She wasn't happy at all. And my sisters too were not happy, because I was the first one getting pregnant in the family.
Oh.
It was so hard. And to some point, they stigmatized me a little bit. And they gave me a little bit of stress. But when Debbie came, they really loved Debbie.
Wow.
They loved Debbie. Up to this point, they still love Debbie. It's never been bad that Debbie has always had her home with my mother.
Wow.
So when I got pregnant with Debbie, we had issues, and I had to leave mom in Nairobi. I went to the village.
Again?
Yes, because mom was furious, like, all this happening and then you're still getting pregnant. And by then I had asked my dad to take me back to school for a long time. And the fact that he didn't, I gave up. So when I got pregnant, I was like, shule ikae school.
So you dropped?
I had dropped out of school earlier, before even going to
Kisumu.
Yes. So me and this pregnancy, we had to go to Siaya. So I stayed with dad in Siaya, and I gave birth to Debbie at the Siaya District Hospital, which is now the Siaya Referral. And it wasn't easy again. After that, you know, the Luo culture, you can't stay with your father anymore.
Yeah.
So I had to move in with my brother. And then it wasn't so easy, because life was hard. And then mama came in. You know, mom is always a mom.
Yeah, mother is a mom.
Yes, she just came back and told me, okay, I'm giving you a fair look for another one. Come to Nairobi.
Back to Nairobi.
Yes. So I went back to Nairobi, and my mother took good care of me and my baby. I will never regret.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that she was still furious. I was young. I still wanted to party. You know, you are a kid and you have a kid.
Yeah, you have a kid, yeah.
So it was just, I could leave Debbie at home, because I was still following music, but secular music.
But secular music.
Yes, that's
so when, that's before sasa you joined the gospel.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with Debbie, I didn't take that responsibility. I was young, and now my mom was helping me buy the clothes and everything. My sisters were there with the baby. I think I lost control again. And 9 months later, I was pregnant with another child.
16 years, 17 or?
Debbie was 9 months.
9 months.
And I was pregnant with Nick. So this guy is the guy who came in and said he would marry me with the baby. I was still very young. And being that I had gone through a little bit of rejection from my past, all I needed was just that empathy, love.
Yeah, love. So you
but
thought,
so every time
Ni wa Nairobi.
Yeah, every time someone came to me and told me I love you, me I believed. I never used to have this other thought that mtu anadanganya. Little did I know he was married. And then when I got pregnant, I didn't know what to do. When I told him, he rejected me.
So at 16 years, uko na baby number 2.
Niko na baby number 2. So you can imagine mom was furious about the first one.
Yeah.
Now the second one was so bad. I got stigmatized. I went to Siaya. I left Debbie in Nairobi actually, nilihepa. I left Debbie with mom. I went to Siaya. When I went to Siaya, nilienda kujaribu kutoa hiyo mimba.
What?
I wanted to abort that child because I was not, even myself, I wasn't ready.
You were not ready. Juu hata Debbie mwenyewe analelewa, firstborn analelewa na mom. So tena mwapili anakuja. Na sasa hiyo uko 16 years, sasa ndio uko
so, I thought myself as a very stupid person.
Yeah.
I wasn't promiscuous, but it came into my mind and I was like, this is what people see of me. My dad, my cousins, people talked bad about me. And when I tried to abort Nick, I'm going to tell you the truth. The first week I took 10 Panadols.
What?
And then I had to wait. Nothing happened. The second week I was told to chemsha some herb from the village. I did. Nothing happened.
Because pia nasikia kwamba watu unapata watu wanatumia sijui nasikia uchemshe nini? Wanasema unachemsha uchemshe majani
majani hata that one I tried. Yeah. I tried. So I was trying these things consecutively nisikie tu mimba imetoka.
Na haikutoka.
Haikutoka.
Mungu akisema huyo mtoto.
There's even a friend of mine called Liz who was with me when niliekewa mpaka drip itoe mimba na haikutoka. Because when the doctor said you needed someone to stay with Liz, my friend was there with me. Haikutoka. So the next day I'm meeting with another dear friend of mine called Steve.
Yeah.
And Steve tells me, Demba, God knows why amekupea mtoto. Usimtoe. Hata kama mamako atafanya nini usimtoe.
Hata wale naonanga wale wanaume wanakata watoto. Unaona most of the men ambao wamekata watoto wao, unapata mtoto anafanana na baba yake. Mungu akisema huyo mtoto atazaliwa. So whether mmekubali ama mmekata. So Nick ilikuwa Nick akuje azaliwe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I understood that Nick had to leave because hakuandika application, you know. So I carried Nick and I gave birth to Nick. I didn't know I would give birth to a normal child because I had gone through a lot of processes trying to abort. Nick was okay, very okay. But I gave birth to Nick in a situation that was so hurting. So because now my mom and dad had came back together and we were in the village, but dad didn't want mom to even interact with me because now I was like
ashapotea njia alafu unaharibia familia pia jina.
So I was put in my grandmother's house in the home kwa home yetu because I couldn't stay with my dad and mom in their house, and they could pass by and it was normal. I think I never meant anything to them at that point. I became so useless. But when I gave birth to Nicholas, it was so hurting because my mom was not so supportive. And I had to go through it all by myself. And when I gave birth to Nick, I got an uncle of mine who used to help me. He used to commute from Kisumu to Dala. And now because I told him my story and told him these guys are not accepting me because I have this other child. Yeah. He started supporting me. In the time of supporting me, he took advantage of me. I forgive him. And I say he took advantage of me because he knew he was like a father to me. He would have fathered me. So
unasema hebu tueleze hiyo ali take advantage of you how?
I was going through a lot. I needed someone to support me. He was there to support me. Yeah. But he demanded something else.
Your uncle? Huyu ni ndugu ya your mom?
I'm so sorry to say this story because he's still alive, but I have to speak about this. And I forgive him. I hope he forgives me for sharing this too. And when he took advantage of me like that, I didn't know he had taken advantage of me until recently when I was old enough, and I'm like, I never consented to that. not in the way that I really wanted it, you know.
So alikuwa nakuja kwa hiyo nyumba ulipewa?
No, he used to call me in his house just to give me the stuff, you know.
The stuff.
So in that process, that is how it happened. So me and my mouth, I told a close friend of mine. The friend of mine went and told my stepmother, and my stepmom told my dad. Hell broke loose. I was chased away from home. My dad told me he doesn't want anything to do with me.
So hao walikuwa naona wewe ndio mbaya?
Yeah, of course, me ndo nilibaki mbaya. And I carried that for a long time. Even my cousins used to abuse me with that, you know. Yeah, like you can't go anywhere because you slept with
your uncle.
With your uncle. But nobody really knew my side of the story.
Yeah.
And I couldn't talk because
you're struggling to raise these kids.
My image was already tainted.
And you are now 17 years, a mom of 2.
So I came back to Nairobi with my children. Somewhere I just got away to come back to Nairobi. So when I came back to Nairobi, I went first to my elder sister in Kariobangi's North Light Industry.
Light Industry, yeah.
But because she also had things to do, I had to look for a small house for my children in Korogocho.
Yeah.
So me, Nick and Debbie, we went to stay in Korogocho, huko chini karibu na mto. And we used to share the same room na nguruwe. The same wall. Nguruwe zilikuwa huko, sisi tuko huko.
Yeah, unajua ina Islam hakunanga mambo na ati mnyama na binadamu. Nyinyi wote
I could walk in the morning
pamoja.
And you think you're going to step on a stone, kumbe it's feces. It was a filthy place. And you know, I could leave my children there na wafungia kwa nyumba. Because I can't carry them. And I used to go to Buruburu kutafuta kufua.
Kuhustle.
Saa zingine utapata kufua lakini you knock. Give me leftover food. They'd give me. And by the way, Saturday was a good day for us because there's this watchman who used to tell me, kuja to Saturday. These guys, they remove all the food that has been in the fridge for the whole week. They throw it away. Hata kama it's good.
It's good, yeah.
Alikuwa ananiwekea. That day we used to feast because we used to have only kijiko and sani. And leaving Debbie and Nick in that house while I went looking was not easy.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, when I met John Okidi.
John Okidi. John Okidi is a gospel artist.
Yes.
And he's also a pastor.
Yes.
Wow. That was so. Yani hata nimeshindwa niseme nini. Christine pass through a lot of things. Na I hope mmesikia nyinyi wenyewe, hamjaambiwa, mmesikia. So guys, keep it Kegma TV and don't forget to subscribe. And we'll be back after the break. So hello guys, we are back and tuko na Christine hapa tena, na so nataka tuambie sasa. Hapa amepatana na the gospel artist ambaye anaitwa John Okidi. He's a gospel artist and also is a man of God. So welcome Christine.
Yes, thank you.
Hebu tuambie nao umepatana na John Okidi.
Yes.
So kwanzia hapo unaweza tuambia now your journey of the gospel ministry.
Okay, at that point, despite the fact that I was going through all these things, I was writing songs.
Wow.
I had written some songs, gospel music. And even before that, I had some music that I had wanted to produce.
So as a teenager already ulikuwa umeshaanza kuandika some songs?
Yes.
Wow.
So when I met John Okidi, my main aim was that he would help me first to get my music out. Because I used to think that if I get my music out, then it would even help me heal myself. And then it would help people see that I wasn't just this person they thought I was. But it didn't happen like I thought. So John kept helping me. I could come to town where I used to work at Shekinah Ministries, and he used to play the piano. So I could come, he would support me with something small. I would go back home because by then I was almost getting into prostitution when I met him.
Oh, when you were living in Korogosho.
Yes, life was hard, and I was just giving it all up, and I was like, I want to go into prostitution. So he rescued me before I did that, and he used to help me now and then. But later on, I started working at the house of Elisha Muliri, the husband to the late Angela.
Oh, Pastor Elisha Muleri.
So I worked there as a maid for some time, and that is what made my life change.
Oh, so umefanya kwa nyumba ya the late Angela Chibalonza?
Yes. So when I was going to see John Okidi at Shekina, Elisha Muleri Nabi was the pastor of the church.
The pastor of the church.
So sometimes I would go and then he would tell me, wait first. So I had to listen to the Mahubiri.
Mahubiri, yeah.
And with that, I started getting interested. Then when I told the pastor my story, he said, you could come to my house and try getting some money by doing that.
The house, yeah.
And I had done kazi ya maid for a long time. So with my mom, you know, housekeeping was my thing. So I started housekeeping at Elisha Muliri's house. There we were with Lotis Kamba, Solomon Mukubwa, Eliezer the late, Pastor Rogers, and Moses, and so many other people. Wanda was still very young, and her auntie was there. And we were a beautiful family, big, beautiful family. Yeah. They supported me so much. So that is how I entered into the gospel ministry. Yeah. So I went to the church one day and I confessed that I wanted to follow Christ.
Wow.
And that is how I gave my life to Christ for the first time. And life was very nice. I can't deny, people were so loving. I got so much support from people. But I realized that the support was coming, but my problems had stayed with me.
Had stayed with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all the rejections and everything, I had not processed it. And I had not dealt with it.
So, hapa, your mom alikuwa anajua sasa uko kwa church ama ulikuwa umeshamwambia?
Of course, my mom was in the village.
Was in the village,
but
yeah.
Now they were hearing that I was in the church.
In the church.
Yeah, it was
so,
good for everybody. So, walikuwa
wamefurahia, wanasema, wow, now at least ume transform.
Yes, it was good for everybody.
Yeah.
And then I worked for Abedi Ngoso for some time. I used to help him in the shop in town. So that is a time that I had left Debbie and Nick to stay with my mom in the village.
Oh, so you took them back to the village?
Yeah, at one point I had to take them. When I took them to the village, Nick succumbed and died.
What?
At 3 years.
Sorry.
Yeah, so one evening I was called, Nick is sick. The next morning by 3 in the afternoon he was dead. And I had to go home and bury him. It was not easy because my parents had not accepted me fully for what I had done, bringing in a second child.
Yeah.
So even when Nick died, they were still throwing insults at me. And it really hurt me twice because my son was dead and I was still being insulted. My parents.
So hata wakuambia amegonjeka ama nini, what happened?
I think it was stomach issues because in the night I talked to him. He said, Mama,
and he was still young.
Yeah. The next morning I didn't get to talk to that child. I only got to see him dead. So even today, I don't think anybody has ever explained to me what happened. I've never asked. Because there were so many stories about that and I didn't want to complete
So after that, you came back to Nairobi
again? After that, I came back to Nairobi. When I came back to Nairobi, I was so empty. For someone who has buried a child, you would understand. Yeah. There's a part of you that goes with that child. And in this case, Nick had died and I wasn't even there with him. So my son died when I was not there with him. I didn't even know what. I don't know. Maybe we could have talked before he died. I would have known. But I knew nothing.
You knew nothing, yeah.
So that pain, nilikuja nikaifunga.
So umejaza, yes.
With everything I had gone through, I just put it inside because
from 15 years to yani life inaendelea kwa worse.
Yeah. So after he died, I went deeper into ministry. And now I was just in the church.
So you are still with Elisha?
Yes.
Apostle Elisha?
At some point I left them. I worked with Christine Ashusho.
Oh, you worked with Christine Ashusho?
Is this video, we never did in the studio as in the audio part, but the video part, she called me and I went with some of my 2 friends. And I was humbled to be in her video, or even just work with her one-on-one through Geraldine Oduor. Yeah. And that is when I met Janet Otieno. And I worked with Carol Nyakwaka. And so many other artists that we were with at that particular point. Yeah. So, to cut the story short, being in the ministry gave me a new face. People knew me. Demba is a minister now. She's gone through this. This is her story, but now this is...
Now this, yeah.
I got pregnant again while I was in the ministry. The reason why is because I used to sit back and just look for love.
Yeah.
I wanted to find somebody I could share my life with.
Yani una need someone anaweza ku accept venye uko because now sasa dada dad anakuangalia na macho ingine, mom.
Yes. The community, the
your
society.
uncle amekuabuse. So you just feel like, nani anaweza nikubali?
They were-
Alafu una feel like you have failed everyone. You see yourself as a failure. So unatafuta a shoulder to lean on, na to accept you as you are. And now here comes a man tena.
Yes, and he says he loves me, and it was nice. That was a fling, and it was nice. I can't say, I don't want to regret. I don't want to be now I'm saying it was bad.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the bit of it. But I had not dealt with my issues. That is why I was still getting myself into this. The church was there. We were singing praises and everything and praying, going for these keshas and fasting. But I had everything that I had bottled inside, I had not dealt with. So I realized even if God was forgiving me, I had not forgiven myself. So when this guy told me he loved me, I was like, wow, someone loves me the way I am. Little did I know. And I think I had this very stupid part of my head that used to trust people so much.
Yeah.
Because I never used to cheat on guys. If I got one, to me it was that one. And I would put all my focus like, this is the guy.
You're still naive, yeah.
Then I got pregnant. Of course, I meant to take my pills, which were supposed to be taken, but God has reasons. When I got Israel, I was happy. Despite the fact that that guy rejected me again, even up to days, never recognized.
So alikupromise atakuoa ama by
Of
that
course,
time?
that
Na
is what
alikuwa
people
ameokoka, mlipatana kwa
No, he
church
wasn't
ama?
saved.
Oh, he wasn't saved.
I used to be in the church, but I never thought of
Dating
in the
someone
church.
who is, yeah.
Yeah, because I used to see that people in the church, we are not supposed to go that far.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So when I met this guy outside, I knew that he was not in the same caravan of faith with me, but I still enjoyed what he gave me. So due to that mistake, I got pregnant.
You get pregnant, yeah.
So when I got Israel, I said, no, I will not abort. I will carry this child.
It's like Nick now is back.
Yes. So I was really happy, and I thought I was going to get a boy. And I had chosen a name, Israel, for him. Because I was saying, the Israel was so rejected by so many people. First, now this was the third pregnancy nikiwa kwetu. It was escalating, the hatred was escalating, the bitterness was getting hotter. And then Israel's father alimreject. Mpaka today, you know, every other child I have, I can say, huyu ni babake. Even Debbie, I meet his dad once in a while. Nimewahi kutana nikamwambia niko na mtoto wako, and for some reason he accepted, but he never supports
you, yeah.
But he accepted that here.
Hey, wow guys, so my producer ananiambia ya kwamba time imeenda, and Christine has a lot ya kutuambia na ya kutuelezea. So but before aende, nataka tuambie sasa hiyo transition yake from gospel to now she's doing now secular in the club. So atuambie ni nini imefanya mpaka akafika hapo, na atuambie kama bado pia angependa kurudi, because mimi ombi langu hata venye nasikia story yake ni ya kwamba arudi back to church. I don't know about you guys what you're saying, and also on the comment section kindly ebu tuambie, na pia jaribu kumu-encourage. So Christine, ebu tuambie now sasa from gospel ilikuwaje mpaka sasa ukatoka after ukapata the third baby.
Okay.
So now your life sasa, and sasa ikuje uingie secular. What happened with the church, maybe with your brothers and sisters in Christ? Nini ilifanyika sasa kuanzia hapo?
It just came to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. And I wanted to be myself. And in the church, after getting pregnant with Israela, they wanted me to abort. Some of the women wanted me to abort because they thought I had ashamed the ministry.
The ministry, yeah.
I refused. That's how I got out of church. They talked. They said things I could hear, and they discriminated me even when I went to their shows. And I just got tired. I said, okay, let me go.
Una feel kama your mama reject your dad, and
now the church.
The same thing. Una feel like, seriously, this world kwani iko so.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when I went to the secular industry, I never went there because I was angry or bitter. I wanted to feed my children.
Oh.
Yes. Because in the church I was going, we sing, they tell you God bless you. You go home, you have nothing to eat. What you do it? The children are there. Their fathers are not there. my parents are not cooperative enough. Although my dad has stood with me for a long time, even though he used to give me but still cane me, but you know, a father will always do that. So that's how I transitioned to the secular industry. So when I went even to learn how to play the nyatiti, it wasn't that I wanted to do secular music with the nyatiti. I wanted to do gospel music with the nyatiti. But when I took it in the church, it's like they rejected me. Now this one hata amekuja mpaka na mizimu. Yeah. And I kept looking at Psalm 33 verse 3 that says, sing to God with a lovely song, play a lyre. Hymns, yeah. So that kept me going. But when now I thought and said, okay, this thing could give me money to feed my children, then I started doing it professionally. So right now I do my music professionally. I'm an entertainer.
Now you're an entertainer.
Yes, but I've not found my way back to church because I didn't just want to jump from one church to the other. And I really vetted churches before going to churches because now I had that.
You had that, uko na hiyo fear ya kwamba watanijudge nini.
Yes, but I still had the discernment too. Because
so,
I knew that
au kupata mtu at least anaongea na wewe akwambie Christine, no, let me stand with you.
Nobody even,
hata kama umeamua kwenda hii side,
nobody,
acha nisimame na wewe for this time.
No one, even the people that I have worked with in the gospel ministry, nobody has ever came back to say, where is this girl? Let's look for her. So, okay, it's okay with me because life has to go on for everybody. But it made me feel like this was not Christ-like. Because Jesus Christ, as I know him, being the friend that I've worked with all this time, because when I left the gospel industry, a lot of people thought I left God. But if you only knew how much I held on to that man.